I'll get it out to the Telegram group. So, hey, welcome guys. We're back for another week of governance and with EOS Ignite, and a special guest, Kevin Rose from EOS New York, and glad he could hop in here. I should be a little bit more formal. I'm gonna start getting the calendars and start inviting people, but I like the idea of like people just like out of the blue coming in.
It's like a pickup game. Yeah. It's a pickup game of EOS governance.
Exactly. So, it's great, and all right. So a few people are coming here. They probably want to hear you, Kevin. So,
what's up, Branden? How you doing? I see you out there. We should probably get him in here at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So, let's invite Branden here. If he's available, I'll invite him. See if he's ready. But
Branden, go put a shirt on.
That's the other cool thing. We're all like, wherever we are, it's like, at the comfort of our own homes. Or
there we go.
We don't know where Branden is. He's got the green
behind me. Yeah. Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, Branden? I'm good. How are you?
Much. Hey, I can't stick around for too long. I'd love to chat a little bit, but I'm pretty swamped today. But yeah, I'd love to chat for a little bit.
Okay. Well, we'll kind of open it up, So I'm always here trying to get the latest. I follow the telegrams. I used to follow a lot more, but I've been kind of falling behind here. But so maybe Kevin, like, what's the latest? What are the burning questions of governance that are going on these days?
Yeah, well, we've been burning the same candle for 8 months now. Okay. So we've just got this pile of wax that we're trying to sift through. No, all right. So for my priorities, it's definitely the EOS user agreement. It's definitely about resetting the expectations of what EOS governance is, what it can do, and how everybody is a part of it already, and the EOS user agreement being a reset of that, so that we can move on. Basically, there are a lot of smart people that are spending a lot of time burning a lot of man hours working on this stuff, and I think that we'd all be better served if we called it, and got it done and moved on.
Kevin, I don't underestimate the importance of what you're doing with pushing the conversation and keeping the conversation going. Last time I was here, I think it was on this call that I had said that a nation will have a constitution and it'll be working just fine, and then suddenly it won't. Their government will totally fall apart. And it wasn't something that changed with the Constitution. It was something that changed with the people and their attitude about the Constitution. One of the things that I think that the biggest failure, for lack of a better word, of the current Constitution that we have is that there was no founding myth. There was nothing tying us together that we identified ourselves as a community with that Constitution that was kind of given to us, when we turned on the network. What you're doing right now, Kevin, and you've been one of the louder voices in the work, is you're building a founding myth for the community, right? You just use the word the Great Reset, right? And that's what you're doing, is you're leading the community through this process of a great reset. What we're doing is we're aligning our incentives, not necessarily with the politics, but with each other, and we're trying to push towards something together. And we didn't have that at the beginning with the Constitution that we had. So yes, the content of a Constitution is very important. I think that identity, that a community identifying that Constitution is what's most important. And what you're doing, and leading these conversations and keeping them going and challenging the ideas and letting people challenge you, and you being respectful about those ideas, and keep in the way you just keep pushing the conversation, I can't emphasize how important it is.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think you're right, because we're forging something new in the furnace of the decentralized community, and certainly it's through the various the various platforms we have to communicate, like this one. Thank you, June, for having us. Listen, I don't know. I don't think that I said it the other week to Luke Stokes. I don't think that this is anything more than just putting into words a reflection of what currently exists.
And I know a lot of people, or there's some very outspoken people about keeping the Constitution or following the current Constitution exactly the way it is. But let's remember, it was always intended to be temporary, right? We used to refer to it as the interim Constitution.
It's what you just said of it'll work until it doesn't, and that really isn't the case for 95% of the content of the EOS user agreement, because it'll work until we change the code, but the current Constitution will work until we just ignore it. And we've seen people ignore it, and nobody can do anything, because what we ultimately have is we have token holders. That's it. They're in charge. And the token holder and the block producer may be the same person. I'm not trying to say that they aren't, but the current set of validators is a 100% reflection of the will of those who are voting.
Now, I want to be clear. My position on like a constitutional approach or injecting a human layer of governance over a blockchain, it's totally doable. Harder to keep together because it's not fully constrained by code like the user agreement is, or mostly constrained by code. It's doable, but it requires a much more cohesive founding myth. It requires the people to identify and value that Constitution, and we just didn't have that with the Constitution that was launched, right? The Constitution we have, I believe, could work with a different people in a different circumstance with a different value set. I don't see that reflected in the community right now.
It's got to work, though. And when I mean work, I mean it's got to work for you. It has to do its thing. The big difference between having a constitution in the United States, for example, than the one that we're trying to put on EOS is that we have bodies in terrestrial constitution within political borders. Like the ultimate thing is we can put you in a cage, and we have our physical selves involved. That's not involved here. This stuff is happening, like it happens too fast. Mm-hmm. There's no identity, there's no reputation, there's nothing stopping anyone from creating a new account. And I mean, it just works differently. I don't like the way that we've juxtaposed things like three legs of a governance stool. Yeah. Keeps it up. It's to compare what we have to a centuries old government with billions of dollars of resources and many more man hours spent into developing is just like, it's just silly.
Yeah. I've said a bunch of times that I am not convinced that referring to a mainnet or to a blockchain as a nation state or comparing it to a nation state is at all accurate. I'm afraid that it constrains our thinking a little bit too much about how we should move forward by looking at this as a nation state. So I agree with you.
You could govern a nation state with a blockchain, but a blockchain may not necessarily be a nation state.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the two are. This was another thing that I had said to June last time I was here, is that the two are kind of based on fundamentally different axioms. Blockchain is based on the axiom that we cannot trust each other, right? And governments are based on the concept that we can. I can trust you to lead me.
So why not build trustless governance then?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a government at that point. It'd be trustless governance, but it wouldn't be a government. It'd be something fundamentally different. That's why I'm saying I'm not entirely convinced. I'm not entirely convinced that thinking about a network as a nation state's that it works. There's conflict there in the kind of the base axioms of what drove the two solutions.
Yep.
I don't know. It's been an awesome. I mean, I've said this to you before, Kevin, that my opinions have changed so much over the last 8 months. Flip-flopping, you know what I mean? At the very beginning, I was outspoken that block producers do what they're told, period. They don't step beyond that. Whatever is in that in the Constitution, you do what you're told, you know, and nothing more. And now I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer. I think that you know, DPoS, the way EOS is built is, you guys have a lot of power, you know.
It wasn't. I'm not like, okay. So my opinion changed a lot too, and I mean, you can go back and see where I literally wrote, a block producer should not judge the content, the merit of the content of an arbitral award. For example, they should simply execute it the way a bailiff would carry out someone who's been sentenced to prison in a courtroom. They don't get to decide whether or not, they're just simply a tool. And that was said in a place of trust, ironically enough. Trust that those who were doling out the decisions knew what they were doing.
That's what I'm saying. It's that governments are based on a framework of trust. A blockchain makes the assumption we can't trust each other.
I mean, the amount of liability that block producers could have potentially put themselves in as a result of this process frightens me. I mean, obviously I'm biased. EOS New York is a block producer, so I don't know. I probably shouldn't even be commenting on it.
Makes sense.
Because this stuff is going to come to a head.
Yeah. Have you seen any ripples in that direction as far as liability, people starting to point fingers of blame legally?
There are, I mean,
there
are two things we need to worry about. There's two things we need to worry about directly. There are 30 plus accounts that are blacklisted. And there's $30,000 that ECAF took in fees. What do we do they do with the fees, and what do we do with those blacklisted accounts? I can't even comment on it.
Interesting. Oh.
That's why it's important that the current constitution or parts of it be removed soon.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things in limbo for sure after, you know, and there hasn't been any progress. So it's seems like it's going to remain that way. But so Kevin, kind of your view, user agreement, and, you know, having that, what's your vision of like going forward? Like, what's the ideal scenario where, you know, people start to, you know, support that idea? And what is the idea number one? Like, what is the crux of the idea? And then how do you just see it going forward? And what do you see as like your version of like the best path forward so that we can move on, maybe resolve some of these issues in limbo as well?
Necessity is the mother of invention. And because we started this blockchain with the expectation that network validators, would be available to execute whatever you want, we didn't allow certain innovations to take place. We may have created a supply of a service without there being enough of a demand for it. There's certainly a demand for people who are like, I lost my tokens, I need them back. But what we didn't allow for was, well, how can services and products be created to prevent this? The EOS.io software is robust enough to do it. We had Michael Yeats of EOS DAC put a private key out there. It took, he eventually got everything taken from him. It was on a test net, but it took a week. It took a week for somebody to get into his account that the private key was out there. And this is Michael Yeats just messing around. Not messing around. I mean, he's putting in serious work, but like, it's these kinds of solutions that probably would have been solved faster if we weren't arguing about whether or not we were going to be lazy and just force block producers to do certain things at the expense of the integrity of the blockchain. I mean, this is like, it's all this expectation stuff.
Yeah.
Just got to, the expectation should be.
I wouldn't say that we were being lazy. I would say that we were going through the process of thinking how this governance thing works, and can there be a human layer of governance on top of this network in particular. I don't know if that's. I wouldn't describe it as lazy. Maybe.
We ignored some of the most basic and powerful features of the software. You could create, if you wanted to have arbitration, there is currently a company that's selling that service, by the way. If anybody would like it, please reach out to Amy Wan at SageWise. They're building these products, but you're able to have you're able to create protected environments where, or just take your owner key and give it to ECAF. If something happens. There are ways to create account recovery processes with a friend. These things that weren't created, that maybe we should have.
Yep. I had one of my criticisms of a subsidized decaf was that I thought that it was going to be preventing competitive arbitration forums to emerge, or specialized arbitration forums. I'm still waiting for an arbitration forum to emerge that specifically addresses or specifically represents BPs and helps BPs handle any issues that they get in, especially legal issues and stuff like that. But I don't know.
It's almost like it's like by allowing that actor, you're saying, okay, litigiousness is okay.
Yeah, well, you get more of what you subsidize, right? So if you're going to subsidize, if you're going to subsidize lawsuits, you're going to get more lawsuits. If you make it cheaper for people to sue somebody, which is basically it's a way of looking at arbitration. Then if you subsidize it, or even promise to subsidize it, then it's gonna suppress competition there among people who aren't subsidized. Or entrepreneurs who aren't subsidized. Yeah, that was one of the things that, like, it was one of the things when I became involved in the whole WPS thing, when we were talking about, I was like, man, I just don't want ECAF to be subsidized by inflation or whatever, because then it'll kill any competition that could emerge that would have.
I've taken. Sorry to interrupt. I've taken like the Neo, the Matrix. There is no spoon, and the spoon bends over. I've taken that perspective to ECAF, and the idea of base layer arbitration. There isn't any, and it's not that these people don't exist and that the work that they didn't exist and the words that they typed, but it's that there is no difference between the ECAF account and yours or mine on EOS. No difference. Nothing.
No, it's fair.
There's no baseline arbitration.
If I had a case that was strong enough and I believed I could present evidence, I would have all of the power in the world to go to each and every block producer and try to convince them to be willing to act on my behalf. And if I could convince 15 of you guys to act on my behalf, then maybe something could get done. But that's all ECAF was attempting to do, but they were attempting to automatically be recognized via the Constitution and not be based on merit or quality of.
No, it wasn't based on the Constitution. It was based on the fact that they were former Block 1 employees and contractors. They leveraged the trust that they had as the only entity in the ecosystem that anybody looked to. That that's what they did.
Yeah, I was when I hope for chaos. Sometimes
I don't mean nefariously. I don't mean it was malicious. I mean, like, during launch, every block producer was afraid of being accused as a power grab. I mean, even coming up to launch, everybody was starting to panic. That they're like, we're not practicing. We gotta get together. But nobody would assume a leadership role because they didn't want to be accused of power grabbing, right? So everybody looked to the vocal members of Block 1, and they said, yeah, ECAF's ready. Yeah, totally. The pull requests are still there in the mainnet repo where they commented, yeah, they are ready. They were not.
I love chaos. I love like when disruption happens anywhere and it was just totally unexpected that somebody does something and then it pushes a pain point that we have to solve to. I was really hoping that somebody would start a second ECAF, like call it ECAF and claim that they had the rights to be ECAF and let that battle emerge between the two. And because I think it would have shined light on why does this one forum over here get to call itself ECAF just because they stood up and said we're ECAF.
Yeah. And at this point
now it doesn't matter. I mean, it's foregone.
The
argument.
The way people from outside the community reacted to seeing this stuff go down makes perfect sense to me now. Because you look at it and you're like, wait a minute. They aren't elected through DPoS. They're telling the block producers what to do? And they're doing it? What?
Just a group of people. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's there. Look, there needs to be the arbitration industry will move into blockchain more and more and help.
I'm working with arbitration company right now. They're having a competition, an arbitration mediation competition, which I learned was a thing. They're having it in Sao Paulo, and they want to introduce blockchain into the problem statement, and I'm helping them. And they want to do it like on the EOS blockchain. This is the part of the problem, and so I'm going to try to walk them through how they can do that. But so far they don't, by and large, do not know how to deal with blockchain in general.
Blockchain doesn't know how to deal with blockchain yet.
Yeah. What I hope this all goes to is that the EOS user agreement is passed, and then we look to create we look to end the extreme fragility of sensitive smart contracts having sometimes a single owner key, where how decentralized is it if one person can drain an entire token contract?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. So getting them to have a multi-signature arrangement with some number of third parties, whether that be block producers or others, and having a service level agreement in place between block producers and dApp developers.
Yep, absolutely.
That's where I want to see the next step. I'm happy to share a draft of that document with you guys.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we'll put it on the video when we get that out, and you have a Telegram group as well. We can share that again, where I guess you're talking about how to kind of progress towards immutability and ways to do that. So I guess that's part of that too, right? That effort. Now, do you think right now, it seems as though there are still some there's community members that are going to propose different constitutions. So I guess this EOS user agreement is, do you think is also going to be proposed? Is there going to be a vote? Do you think there's going to be enough, just based on the numbers right now, it doesn't seem to be that, that there's a lot of active voters, at least for referendum proposals. So how do you see that? I mean, and then there's the idea that, maybe, and Branden mentioned this, where maybe that's a signal too. People are fine the way things are, and they don't want additional kind of maybe requirements or so. How do you see that fit in? And so there's a few questions there. Maybe Kevin, if you can answer, any of those.
Yeah, I think we're moving slowly, but the 15% kind of threshold, I don't think it matters, because if, here's 20 million votes for Rex for all, right? And what if that doesn't hit the 15% threshold, then the block producers are going to say, sorry, we can't do it. Then those 20 million tokens are going to go to groups that say that they will do it. And there will be groups that say they will do it. So I don't think the threshold matters.
So when it comes to passing the user agreement, I agree. Just like what you said about Rex, the same thing could be done as far as the user agreement if you wanted to. However, I want to propose two hypotheticals with you. The first hypothetical is the status quo as it is. We've got this constitution that some people really like, some people don't. Let's imagine you get 16% voting for the end user agreement. It's going to lend a lot more credibility to that end user agreement than had that constitution not been there at all and you got 16%.
Well, two things. One, we're definitely waiting. Referenda are incredibly important, and it's the only way that we can measure token holder sentiment on direct topics. I mean, I'd be stupid if I'm just going to put it out there and then say, okay, well, we're going to do it anyway. No, I'm going to listen and see if people like it. Unfortunately, we have set the expectation that no votes are kind of opposite to, they're discouraged, because a no vote can actually help pass a vote. So maybe there are no votes that aren't going for it, but in fact that there I don't know if that's true, actually, because the CD, the EOS Commons development program, has an overwhelming amount of no votes, but yeah, it also needs to be put in multiple languages. So we're gonna wait, but if it doesn't,
salt in my burn wounds.
I'm only reading what I see on chain. I think that having we're going to need a core development team. This is something that we are not equipped with. We think Block One is our core development team. I love Block One. I love the guys at Block One, Bart, Greg. They are fantastic. Sandwich doing his thing. But they don't work for us.
And there's not a lot of clarity about what their core target is with the changes that they're making to the code, right? Like, why are they making certain changes? We don't really know what the motivation is, because it's a little bit opaque.
They don't report to us.
Yep.
Yeah, and the incentives are not quite fully aligned. I mean, they have 10% of the tokens, but other than that, they're a separate business. And I think it's good that there is independence, but that does mean that there needs to be some funding for development, and so that suggests that eventually we need some funding.
But again, that's what you guys already have the power, if not the authority, to allocate funds from dot savings to wherever.
Yeah, but look at it this way. All right, let's look at the actual proposal. The no votes are 10 million. Okay, if that were to be proposed on chain, and those votes were to be removed, the top 21 would look different tomorrow, and that's why referenda is still powerful, and it doesn't matter what percentage it's at.
What I'm saying, all I'm saying is that you guys should shoot for, if you do, seeing the end user agreement through the referendum process, you guys really should shoot for 15. Do everything you can to get the 15%.
That's more tokens than vote for any block.
But the point is if you can cross that threshold, then it shuts up a big argument. It puts it to bed forever.
I'll make 1,000 EOS bet with you that no referendum that is live right now hits 15% before it expires.
That's fine. I would suspect that that's the case. But EOS dApp was able to get numbers.
They were.
Right? EOS dApp shows us it's possible.
That is a good point. That is a great point. Does that mean you want to take the bet?
Not much of a gamble.
Come on. Oh, and well, you should. All right. Bets off the table. You should have taken it because I lose bets all the time.
I just to let you know, I have a 2 EOS bet on CDF not getting to 15%. So that's
okay.
That's like a.
Are you in favor or against?
I don't expect CDF will get to 15%.
Oh, okay. So that's a safe. Oh.
Okay. How about 50? Would you bet 50 EOS that no referendum live right now will hit 15% before it expires?
No, the ones that are live right now, no.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, so EOS New York, we unless the and I'm sorry that I'm saying this, unless the vote for yes and no look like some of the less popular referendum, we will propose the EOS user agreement prior to 15%. Because I do not believe that it will hit 15% before it expires. The proposer actually put 90 days instead of 120 days. We were not the proposer, just the author. But that's we will put our money where our mouth is, so to speak, that we believe that there is a personal threshold for every organization. There is not an actual threshold. It just doesn't play out that way. But we obviously want to get as much buy-in as possible. We're not trying to screw anyone over. We're trying to do this the way that we think it works.
So how does that compare? Let's say version 2 is probably popular as well, right? So version 2, and that's kind of a variation of version 2, right? And then
I don't see it on chain though.
Oh, you're talking about it has to be proposed.
Yeah.
Right.
How else do I know?
Okay.
How else would you know? How else would your block producer make a decision on something? Okay. Certainly not Telegram conversations.
Yeah. So I assume that some variation of that. I think Block One was supposed to come out with some governance, I guess, communications. I think, right? But
either this week or next week.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure what if it was governance, if it was a new wallet or technology or what. But
EOS IO governance best practices.
Oh, okay. Best practice.
EOS IO.
Okay. Cool. So I think that's good to see what their thinking is at this stage, because I think they really haven't communicated since June of last year, I think, or July. It was they've kept pretty quiet, I think.
It would have been much nicer if, and I want to say again, like, Block One has been a fantastic partner in EOS, and I think that they are going to build amazing things. I think that they are building amazing things, but it would have been a whole lot nicer had they just said they were not said they were going to, but just come out with it. Because just as you just said, and many others have said, we now must sit on our hands and wait. No one is willing to do anything until they've spoken.
And we don't even know if that's why no one's willing to do anything. Like, we have to wait, and then once they've spoken, people still may do nothing.
Yeah, okay, that's hyperbole. You're right. Many people. I have spoken to at least a dozen people. Let me be specific. I've spoken to at least a dozen people that have expressed, let's wait. So, and I take that to mean everybody. No. But yeah, I don't think we should, because we can't wait on them. I know that, but you know what? It's, if they do release it next week, it's not like we're going to propose it in a week, so that's fine.
And then I know Justin's here, I think, but I know there was a community constitution that is probably closer to I can't just say community. It's just, there's many different communities that have come together to form a constitution.
Yeah, bring him in.
I've actually got to run anyway. But thank you very much, Kevin. Good to talk to you again.
Sounds good, friend.
You as well.
Take care.
See you next
time.
So
I'll see if Justin wants to come in here. I think he's on the road or something, but we'll see. I think that he said he was on the road, so we'll see if he can get in. But yeah, there's that. I haven't heard the latest on the kind of, there's the Amsterdam version, right? With that they were going to combine with the Korean community constitution as well as the Russian community, and they seem to still favor some sort of arbitration layer, and
unless they're proposing it with code that gives permissions, private keys, like public-private key pairs to arbitrators to be able to do something. It's just the same thing, same problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do. Yeah, I'm more on the version 2 camp, whether it's version 2 or the user agreement or any variation. But yeah, I was just kind of curious how that was going. I was wondering how much support. Maybe there's not a lot of support there. It'd be nice to just see a referendum poll, or just at least a poll before a referendum to see like where Yeah,
I think overall it would probably get a lot more people voting on it if they knew that there was like some competition going on. If there were different versions competing against each other, and someone goes, "Oh wait, there's a choice." I bet that they would. They'd come more token holders would come forward. What did Justin just say?
They are still determining a forum to propose. That's the holdup.
Oh, the actual, like, are they calling up the AAA or an ICC and ICDR or any other acronym of an arbitration association? That's what they're doing?
I assume that's what he means.
Well, I hope that we're ready to give them private keys to the blockchain. That's what we're asking.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. I mean, and that fits in more with the dApp layer concept, or just the idea that people are opting in and just allowing that rather than it being forced. Let's say. Something like that, but one that is into blockchain. So
Jams is into blockchain. I've spoken with them.
Which one?
I've spoken with a couple arbitration associations. If they want my contact of who I've been speaking to, Jams.
How do you spell that?
I'll just put it in the chat. Okay. I mean, this is one in the United States. I think they do international stuff, but I was talking to a guy over there. They just started a blockchain group. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, it's great to know. Like, these are probably smaller arbitration organizations. They may be more technologically savvy. You probably want that. And hopefully less expensive, because it seems as though most typical arbitration forums don't take anything under, a certain.
Oh yeah, Jams will not be able to do lost tokens. Like these guys are former high-paid lawyers, and it will cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Arbitration is not. It's not cheap. This isn't arbitration we're talking about. We're talking about police. So like if we want to return stolen property, I don't know. I think it's a fundamental violation of the fungibility of the token itself, unless you're able to catch it at the thief. One step farther, and goodbye. Goodbye to token value. I mean, minus the part where it actually can exchange to utility. But I don't want to sound fuddy or anything, but you'd be. It's like the same thing if you got change from a 7-Eleven and the cop stopped you and said, "Sorry, that $20 bill was involved in a robbery. You're gonna have to give that to us." That would be insane.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
no, I agree. I think, and I think that's kind of what a lot of people from, other cryptocurrency ecosystems have always, have always, valued. And I think, I think this is one of those things. I think we may have undervalued, I think, at some point. But yeah, no, I do agree. So how do you see? Let's go beyond the governance for a little bit, and then just go to the idea that we're trying to move on and go to the next step. So maybe like, where do you see? You mentioned multi-sigs and just kind of getting the people into the habit of setting up these systems. We're kind of skipping a kind of like, we're assuming a lot of things here, but like, assume, okay, everything goes well, maybe some more limited version of the of governance we have going forward. Now there's technological and like big issues that you want to kind of move on to try to help promote best practices. And so what are how do you see that, and what are the most immediate? You said, hey, if developers have this one key, they can drain all the funds. That's a problem right now, right? And
I think what Scatter's doing with Riddle and Reputation is absolutely amazing. There was a short video that Nathan and Rami were passing around, that it just showed, you install a Scatter extension in your browser and it blinked when you were at a site that was sketchy. And blinked red, and I thought that was great. Is my camera ducking out?
You're okay. It gets a little fuzzy occasionally, but
okay. Yeah. So, we're working on an enterprise project that will take us a long time. We're working on our hardware wallet. So as far as like governance, like when we put the pin in this stuff, I think we can breathe a sigh of relief for a minute, and then look at encourage. And I've been speaking to a lot of developer teams for popular dApps on EOS, and they are interested in sharing their token contract permissions with EOSIO.prods, for example. But the difficult thing is, first of all, that would be a paid service. What is appropriate? Like, the price discovery of that is hard, and I'm trying to come up with one. Because imagine, like, and this isn't just this could be every action in the token contract. It could be a specified set of actions, but to do an update, send the code to 15 block producers and have them all say, okay, this guy's not doing anything shady. I don't even know how to describe the service that they're providing yet. It's going to be a while. I'm still working on it. I sent you the SLA draft. It's also in the asymptotic immutability chat. I've shared it in there too. But
okay, so, and also for people who might not know, what EOS IO prod, it's maybe you can explain it. I feel like I understand. It's essentially the multi-sig of the active block producers that are producing blocks, right?
So EOS IO is the God account. It's God mode, right? And if you actually go to EOS IO, the account on like a Block Explorer, you'll see, and you go to the permissions, you'll see that it's set to EOSIO.prods at active. So the EOSIO.prods is the dynamic multi-signature permission account, where the keys that are included in it change based on who's in the top 21. So if you're in the top 21, you have a key that account pays attention to. And that's how the blockchain gets updated. That's how everything happens.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you're a dApp developer and you don't want to have the control, you say, okay, well, people are going to trust me. If I have a multi-sig and they wouldn't trust me to kind of keep updating my software. And I guess at a certain point when it's mature enough, we say, okay, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of changes. We're going to move.
It's not necessarily about not trusting themselves, right? It's that, okay, So a lot of this stuff is open source code, right? And you saw when EOS Bet open sourced their code, all of a sudden there were a lot of gambling dApps, right? I don't know if people came up with their own or if they didn't, or I don't know. The point is that when you open source the code, somebody can start creating an identical service. And if you're a legitimate business and you want to protect your IP and your brand, this is a way to do it. To say, look, you don't even have to trust me, because the way that anything can happen on this smart contract is at the same threshold of change for the entire blockchain. 15 block producers that have hundreds of millions of dollars backing them in stake weighted votes are the only people that can upgrade my smart contract. That's a powerful message in the face of identical competitors and a Wild West situation where you don't know who these developers are, you don't know where they are. EOS Poker the other day drained their bankroll. I don't know why. I think it's just because they closed their business. But, if that's where we want to persist, if we want to stay in that state, then do nothing. If we want to move toward where there's a badge in the corner of these sites that say this is protected by EOS or something, I think that would be an interesting direction to explore. Entirely voluntary. It would be entirely voluntary.
So, that I think that's great. And do you see, other groups of, whether they're block producers or organizations that also become part of this, offer their services for a multisig, right? So that there'll be this, consortium that gets together, say we're like 10 groups here that are going to be multisig here. If you want so how do you distinguish between how do you compare between the block producer doing that and then another group that comes together? Like, are there
Well, if you do it with a group, then you've got one group, and then all this is you're leveraging different brands, right? You're leveraging, in the case of having EOSIO.prod's active permission, you're leveraging the collective trust, the T word, of 15 block producers and their brands and the brand of the integrity of the blockchain, which is why we shouldn't mess around with it. If you have, Google's smart contract auditing services, you'll get 20 hits. And then, you could say, oh, we use this company. Okay, well, let's look at that company. It's the same thing that does like HTML or not HTML, certification, SSL certificates, stuff like that. In the article that we wrote about it, there's, we list 4 or 5 different verticals of certification. Why is this any different?
Yeah, I think it's a good model. Yeah, I think it's a good model. And, and the block producers are the most trusted, most knowledgeable about EOS technology. So it seems to be a good fit. But then, there could be other competing consortiums and groups that
it doesn't even need to be a consortium. It can just be, all the companies that are there that are smart contract auditors, security testers on smart contracts are naturally positioned to do this, but nobody knows. Everyone assumes that you've got you deploy the Ethereum contract and then you can never update that again in a direct way. So it's immutable. That's the idea, the culture out there, but it isn't practical. Ethereum is great for smart contracts, right? EOS is great for decentralized applications. And you can, I feel like you can get screwed a lot faster because EOS is faster and the features are more robust. It's like the Telos scam, where they're politely asking you to change your owner key. And people are like, okay. They just didn't read it. So
I didn't hear about this. What did they do? What was it?
Someone built a beautiful copy of the Telos Foundation website that led you to a Telos token claim process, which, phishing site, Mel said. And it would say connect with Scatter. And everyone's like, well, if it connects with Scatter, it's perfectly safe. and it literally sent you you would click, okay, claim my tokens, which is just a way to say change my owner key to this, and then it would ask Scatter, hey Scatter, do I have permission to change this owner key? And Scatter would look at the user and go, does he? And the user would go, yep.
Oh, wow.
And then they changed the owner key and they took over 2 million EOS.
Wow. Wow. That's
bad. It was bad. And I mean, it was really bad. There's a lot of UX stuff we need to build. Like just this. Yeah, I think it's more important to focus on that stuff than to focus on everything else that we've been doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's great. There's making progress. At least get to talk about something that we'll eventually get to, and not.
Yeah, and to Mel's comment in chat, Scatter made a change like immediately. They put a warning up, but the fishers, they changed their tactics like a week later. Because they're watching, they're paying attention, they're trying to get you. So, we need to be focusing on how we leverage the native features of EOS to warn people, create reputation, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love reputation systems. So, Justin has a question here. I don't know when he asked it, but let's see if we can get to that question. It's at the bottom. Ask a question section.
No, it's not okay.
So
the question is, what if dApp X tells the top 21 they'll pay them 10% of profits if they promise not to support their competitors? Is that okay? No, it's not. But what does support their competitors mean? Like, what would that mean? To not support the competitor? Because if it has anything to do with treating data on chain differently, that's bad, and I don't think anybody would even think to do that. I mean, there are block producers I don't even talk to. I don't know who they are. I don't think that's feasible.
Yeah. So I think it's also a reputation thing. So if people start to realize that, there's some anti-competitive practices that these block producers are. Okay, it means multisig for them, so they can put that branding on their site. That's all.
No, I mean, it doesn't. From a business standpoint, I don't think that would make sense, because, I would say like no, because I'd rather have 5 clients than you as one client, right? Why would I? I'm offering an agnostic service.
Yeah. So any dApp.
Also, it's on chain. It's on chain. It would, and if there was a set menu of prices and all of a sudden something looked a little weird, people would ask questions. I don't know. I don't see that really happening. Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, I would say no.
Okay. All right, cool. So we're getting close to the 2 o'clock here on my time, so 5 Eastern. Kind of any last questions, any last words, Kevin, that you want to kind of share with everybody?
We should do more of this and just open it up.
Okay.
Or you've been doing it a lot. I take that back. I should come more. And this is great. I was talking with more people about this stuff.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. And it's awesome. Yeah, I enjoy just learning and talking, and I'll start trying to be more formal and try to grow the channel and do all these things that I should be doing already. But there's a lot of people that do watch and follow, and so it's always great to have a guest like you and get your insights. It's fantastic. So I really appreciate it. So.
There's Liberty Block is working on this Townhall that they've been running, right? It's every Monday. One thing they did that was really helpful is they sent out a Google Calendar invite to the people. It seems simple, right? But you're like, oh yeah, that's how you schedule stuff. But possibly some way to combine forces there. I don't think that they're trying to like brand it or anything.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to kind of just join in on all the other calls as well. So thanks for mentioning that. I'll check them out. So figure out, see when they're how often, not how often, but what when they usually schedule, and I'll try to drop in for sure. So.
Cool.
All right. Any last question, guys? And I think we'll see you guys back next week. Thanks so much, Kevin. And I'll look forward to more and more. I know I'll put all the links on the video just so that people can kind of keep following with what's going on.
Thank you for letting me ramble for an hour.
No, it's great. It's awesome. So, all right, awesome. So, hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you guys back next week. Thanks, Mel, Justin, everybody out there, and see you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.